All right. Hello and welcome. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. It is May 20th, and this is our 9th call during this time of the coronavirus and our shelter-in-place order. And so thank you so much to everybody who joins us every week to connect and to be able to have some time here together where we are building and maintaining our community and supporting each other as we go through this time of change and this time of, well, it's a historic time, really, that we're all living through right now. So welcome to everybody who's currently on this call, and thank you so much. And if you're not on it, but you're joining us through YouTube or through the internet later, welcome, and thank you so much for doing that. So the way this works, I always start with a little update of the coronavirus itself. Then we'll talk about what's happening with immigration, and then I'll do a little bit of my own philosophy on life to share. Today I'm also going to be talking about the stimulus package for undocumented immigrants, because that's a new update that is now live, and so I want to make sure that everybody has information about that as well. All right, so let's jump right into it. So according to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, as of yesterday, there have been 1,504,830 total cases of the coronavirus in the United States, and that virus has caused 90,340 deaths up to this point in the United States. All right, and so our heart, as always, goes out to anyone who has directly been infected or directly had someone who was sick and or has passed away in their families. All right, and so if you know anyone who is in that situation, please send them my well wishes. And I think all of us are on this call can agree we're sending our love their way. The numbers statistically are still in our favor, and I would still say that it is a very positive number as far as the spread of the virus. We are 90,000 people have died from it in a country with over 327 million people, and so we are talking less than 0.0001 of 1% of our total population. And so, while it is lethal and while it is spreading, it is still not contaminating or not directly affecting the vast majority of the people in the United States. And so it's important to keep that in mind. And there are good news coming out all the time about potential vaccines, things like that, which are going to be on the horizon. And other good news, we do see that certain restrictions are starting to be lifted. And next week I'll talk a little bit more about the restrictions being lifted here in the Bay Area. Right now they're still mainly on. And so just be aware, tune into the news, watch about the social distancing requirements, continue to wear masks and things like that as we go into essential services. But I know that Napa County, at least, has allowed in-restaurant dining to resume, all right, which is a big step towards reopening at least Napa County. And as we go forward, more and more counties will start developing plans for reopening also, and our office as a business will have plans to reopen, and we do expect to reopen for in-office services starting the beginning of June. All right. So I just wanted to say that, and so there's that about the coronavirus itself. As far as my immigration update, immigration courts throughout the country for non-detained hearings have been closed, and they have now extended the closure date through Friday, June 12th. All right? And so last week it was just through the end of May. And so now they've extended that through June 12th, which I think is smart. And I think it's a good thing because, you know, in those master calendar hearings with, you know, sometimes there are 50 to 100 people in one courtroom. And so, can be pretty packed. And so our court system does need to figure out how to do those in a way where we can still protect ourselves from spreading germs and viruses and things like that. You know, that is a priority before getting back into court. Detained cases, though, are still moving forward. All right. And so if you know someone who is in immigration detention, please have them contact our office. I shared last week the very happy news that we won one of those cases and got our client out of detention last week. So we were super happy about that, and congratulations again to that family. But for other people who are still detained, you know, it's a horrible situation to find somebody in immigration detention during this time. And so if that's you, you know, contact our office or find a lawyer. Let's fight about it. The United States Citizenship and Immigration Service, USCIS, is closed for in-person services through June 3rd. All right, and so we still have a couple weeks left before USCIS reopens for in-person services. If you are applying for a green card or things like that, you can still submit your application, but you won't have your in-person interview until after they reopen. And again, right now that will happen after June 3rd. Perfect. If you have other specific questions about your immigration case, please contact our office. You know, we are still open. We are still, you know, taking calls and things like that. We're working remotely, but we are still open. The shelter-in-place order is extended through May of 2020 in the Bay Area, so check out the news about that. I am going to have more to say about that in our call next week. Next week will be our 10th call, and if we reopen the week after that, then it will be our final call, right? The idea of these calls, these weekly calls, is to go through the time that we reopen. And so once we're back and open, then we'll be wrapping these calls up. All right, and so I also want to invite everyone to join our Facebook group. We have a clients only, so only if you're a client of Land or Home Immigration A.P.C., only if you're a client of the firm, then you'll be receiving an invite. But if you are a client of our firm, please do join us. You know, we love creating community, and I love getting to know our clients in as many ways as we can. And so join us on Facebook and share with us there, and we can use that as a way to ask questions and share ideas and build community within the clients of our office. All right? So, and check your emails, maybe even in the spam folder or something like that. Sometimes those emails can be lost. During the month of May, you may have seen this, I announced it last week. During the month of May, our office is offering free consultations. So it's really for the first time ever, our firm is doing free consultations. Those consultations are not with me directly, they're with our team, but they are going great. And so if you know someone, or if you have someone in your family who is interested in getting, getting help, or if they have an immigration case or what have you, please have them contact our office. You know, you can't beat free, and so let's do what we can to get people the information they need and help people make decisions and do what we can to move our lives forward. Because heck, we only live once, at least that we know of. And so let's take advantage and not waste another second with uncertainty and things like that. Let's get the information and make decisions to take advantage of this life. All right, the last thing I want to talk about before going into my kind of philosophy that I want to share this week is the Disaster Relief Assistance for Immigrants. This is, they call it the DRI program, D-R-A-I, Disaster Relief Assistance for Immigrants. This is the California Economic Stimulus Package, all right? So it is going into effect as of Monday of this week. So as of May 18th, it went into effect. It benefits people who are undocumented immigrants who were unable to receive any of the federal relief programs, all right? So if that's you, if you are undocumented and if you were unable to receive any economic stimulus through the CARES package or through, through the unemployment benefits, then check it out. Right? This could benefit you. The only way to apply is to apply through specific nonprofit organizations. Our office cannot help you with the application. We can just point you in the right direction. All right? The way the law works, they've assigned only certain nonprofit organizations to be handling these applications. All right? And if you're in the Bay Area, that agency is Catholic Charities, all right? And there's a specific number to call. That number, if you want to jot it down, is 415-324-1011. Again, 415-324-1011. I do have a video that I've put out there kind of explaining this also. Here's the thing. I've been calling that number to try and understand what our clients will need once they contact that agency. Every single time I've called it since Monday, I've been unable to talk to anyone, and I've been unable to even leave a message. Like, those lines are swamped, right? And it has been very, I think, frustrating for people who need this assistance to try and get it. And you have to call and keep calling and keep calling. And unfortunately, that's the way it has been, and I know that well, I can just tell that it was not a very well organized and well run program, unfortunately. And for everybody who is in the situation and trying to get that assistance, you know, we're talking $500 per person or $1,000 per family. And my best advice is to just keep calling and keep trying. And yes, I know that the phones and their phone system is not very well equipped for the volume that it's receiving. But do continue to call the number and do continue to try. I think that with time, Catholic Charities will get their act together and get it figured out. All right? And I think that they are doing the very best that they can, but they were not very well prepared, unfortunately. All right, so there we go. That's everything that I wanted to say as far as like my updates to what's happening in the world of immigration. And so now I want to talk and kind of switch gears and talk about my own personal philosophy. The topic that I want to discuss with you all today is how to handle change. All right? Change, you know, when we are born, we really, what I would say is one of the most prevalent emotions that human beings feel in their lives is the emotion of fear. All right? And one of the things that we human beings fear the most is the unknown. All right? And so it's important to just be aware of that, right? When we are thinking about change, often we are afraid of things that we don't know that are happening, all right? And now the problem with that, of course, is that, like, change is everywhere, all right? Change is unavoidable. In fact, the only certainty. The only thing that is for sure in life is that there will be change. And so, change is happening, and it's happening every day, and we're all aware of that. The key is, okay, let's talk about for a minute, how can we, coming from a place of strength, how can we be empowered in the face of change, and how can we really handle change and handle it well? The first thing that I want to say about this is that it's important to acknowledge the change that we're facing. All right? Don't resist it. Don't say, no, it's not really happening. Like, let's take a moment and let's really recognize changes that are happening in our lives. All right? I'd love to share something with you today. So, for those who don't know, my grandfather, all right, who's now deceased, was the founding attorney of the largest law firm in the town where I grew up. Really, really smart guy. He had also served in the Air Force in World War II. All right, and then after being in Europe in the Air Force, he went to law school and then started a law firm. And so super smart guy. At the end of his life, though, he had dementia, all right? And so a super smart lawyer running a law firm with, I think at the time, he had 23 attorneys and over 100 staff. I mean, a very, very large firm, the largest firm in the town where I grew up, right? And he started to be forgetting. He started to, his body and his mind was changing. And he started forgetting things. And he started to, he ultimately died of dementia and Alzheimer's disease, right? And so as he was starting to forget more and more, and as his mind was working for him less and less, he was very, very resistant to it. Oh my gosh. I remember him expressing anger, which he was never angry when I was a child, right? But he was angry and he was frustrated, and of course he was. He always relied on his mind to do everything in his business. And but the point that I'm making is, he didn't want to stop his job. He didn't want to retire. He didn't want to acknowledge the fact that he was changing, and that his mind was changing, and that his health was changing, and that ultimately he was facing the end of his life and death. All right? And that's something that's not very easy for people to embrace or to accept or even to acknowledge, right? But here's what I want to say. After probably 4 or 5 years, this was a long process for him, and after he retired, and after he, really, there was a switch. And at some point, the switch was basically like, yeah, I don't remember as well as I used to, And yeah, my mind isn't working as well as it used to work. And yeah, I'm no longer able to manage a business with 100 employees and, I'm not able to do all of those things. But I can still enjoy my life, And yes, my life will be simpler. And yes, I will, inevitably not be able to, share my jokes and do, remember all of the things that I always liked to remember. Recite poems. My grandpa always used to recite poems. But at the same time, what I'm trying to say is, at some point, he started to accept it. And once he was able to do that and acknowledge exactly where he was at, then he was able to find joy in his life again. And it made a huge difference to his own quality of life at the end of his life. And so as we face change, if we're able to catch ourselves resisting it and catch ourselves kind of denying it and instead embrace it or accept it, right? It can empower us to actually get more out of the time that we have on this planet. And so that's a huge thing. There is this is actually a toast to our managing attorney here in the office. He shared a prayer, all right? It's called the Serenity Prayer, and maybe you've heard of this before, but after he shared this with me, and this is something that he tells himself on a daily basis, I've looked at this a lot, and this is something you could Google, the Serenity Prayer, if you want to know it. But it goes like this. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'll say that again. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right? I mean, every time I think about that, it's like, wow, I almost get goosebumps. If that can be our way that we always address change in our lives, we will live better lives, people. The last point that I wanted to make just really quick is let's not fear change. Let's embrace it. And if we're really cool, if we really want to be empowered, if we really want to go for it, don't just not fear it and don't just embrace it, but hey, let's actually create it. In other words, let's create change as the world around us is changing. Let's create the change that we want to see for our own lives. You know, we don't have to resist change. Heck, we can make it happen and make it in a way that suits us and that empowers us. That is all that I wanted to say today. Thank you all so much for being here with me. It is now 10:24 a.m. I do want to open us up for Q&A. I do have our call in Spanish starting at 10:30, so we have 6 minutes, and I'd love to hear from anyone if anyone got anything from this call. And again, I am really grateful to each of you for joining me week in, week out, and for each of you, participating here with me and building our community during this historic time. So to ask a question, please hit *6 on your phone, and yeah, heck, here we are. Let's talk. Who's got a question? *6, and it doesn't have to be a question. You can tell me, one thing that you're doing in your life, or maybe one thing that you've gotten from this, or anything else you'd like to share.
I don't have anyone asking a question or comment.
All right. Well, *6 if you want to. We've got 5 more minutes. We could take a question or two. And again, to do that, hit *6. In the meantime, if this was useful at all, please share it with one person, right? And if you are our client, please join our Facebook group, as I mentioned. And yeah, that's it. Yeah. Any questions now, Christy?
No, not at the moment.
All right. Well, I guess there we are then. So cool. So thanks everyone for being with me. As always, I really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and end our call then, if there are no questions. And don't fear change. All right. Don't fear change in our lives. Change is not always a bad thing. In fact, there's a lot of good things that happens because of change automatically. all right? And so don't fear change, and instead look for ways to create it in the way that you want it, all right? And go for the life that you want, and heck, you know, seize the day. Seize the day. Make this one count. So thanks a lot, everybody. I'm Otis Landerholm Immigration A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. And yeah, that's it for today. We'll see you on this call next week. Thank you so much.